The world's most mini military tanks in history. Military future. You've come to the right place if you've ever wondered what the world's smallest tanks look like. The smallest military tanks were often developed in the past, mainly to save money and resources. Still, more and more manufacturers are working on creating some of the smallest military tanks. This video will show the smallest tank and explain its role in battle. When appropriately employed, they are just as effective and helpful as their larger brothers. Let's examine the world's mini military tanks one by one. Starting at number 6, we have the Badger. The Guinness Book of World Record recognizes the Badger as the world's smallest passenger tank. It's an all-terrain one-man vehicle made to scale walls and fortified structures. It's both strong enough to dismantle doors and compact enough to fit in a lift. The tank is no novelty, make no mistake about that. The company that created the small monster has experience building military vehicles. The manufacture and design of armored and military-grade vehicles is How and How's area of expertise. However, SWAT teams are still in use of the Badger today. Next off at number 5, we have the Tankettes. The name of this class of tanks should be self-explanatory. They were created between the two world wars, and some of them saw action in actual battles during the Second World War. However, because their light armor was vulnerable to most weapons used in the conflict, the idea was eventually dropped, with the exception of the German Rheinmetall Jagdwiesel. The inspiration for this type of tank came from World War I, when the Allied tanks would breach enemy trenches, but the infantry could not hold the ground. So the tank appears to be a good solution at first. They were designed as manned armored vehicles, then the 2 or 3 man tank jets were made. Most of them didn't have turrets or tank guns, and their main armament was a machine gun or sometimes a 20mm autocannon or grenade launcher. The first idea for one-man tank came from Gifford Lecaine Martel when he made one in his garage and showed it in the War Office. The 2-man Carton Lloyd tank, which was believed to be the most successful after that, was developed by the War Office. The Italian Royal Army was a devoted user of these little tanks. Moving swiftly along to number 4, we have the Rheinmetall Weasel 1. The idea of the Rheinmetall AG Weasel 1 was born because simply dropping paratroopers wasn't enough. They needed to be protected from some of the weapons and at least carry some anti-tank weapons with them. Initially, the goal was to be small enough to be transported by cargo planes, but later they wanted to be able to carry it by helicopters. Porsche designed this in the mid-80s. There was one basic design with a 20mm autocannon. It can go at 80 km per hour on roads and 65 km per hour on cross-country terrain. It's driven by a 2-person crew, with the driver and gunner serving as the commander. It's powered by a VW 2-litre 5-cylinder turbo diesel engine with 85 horsepower. Wiesel, which translates to weasel in English, is the name of this vehicle because of its agility and capacity to approach the enemy quickly and silently. It's ideal on battlefields with moderate vegetation, and although it's not amphibious, it can pass through 50 centimeters of water without any preparations. Later models were equipped with 2 missiles for anti-tank battles. These were heavier and were operated by a crew of 3 people. The production of the Rheinmetall Weasel 1 stopped in 1993. By that point, the platform had been mounted with a variety of armaments. Subsequently, the new Weasel 2 arrived with a larger size, more power and more adaptable equipment, including command and medical types and radar anti-aircraft missile launchers. Are you becoming more fascinated by knowing the amazing specs and capabilities of these tiny monstrous tanks? Do you want to see more like this? Stay tuned until the end of the video. Make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel, Military Future, to see more fresh content exactly like this one. Coming back in at number 3, we have V101 Scorpion. The Scorpion was a difficult target to hit. The lack of armor was compensated for by the ability to move across the field fairly quickly. The British Army's main objective when ordering this vehicle was to make it air transportable, so all the heavy armor and mounts had to be removed entirely. The forward-positioned motor provided additional protection to the crew and was able to withstand 14.5mm rounds fired from a distance of 200 meters. Otherwise, the all-round protection was 7.62mm and against artillery fragments. It's operated by a crew of 3, including a gunner, a driver, and a commander armed with 7.62mm rifle and a 7.62mm cannon. The weapon elevation angle is from 10 degrees to plus 35 degrees. She served in the British Army in 1973, and although she retired in 1944, she still serves in other armies that have been exported. The good thing about this vehicle was that it used a commercial vehicle engine, the Jaguar 4.2 petrol engine, which produced 265 horsepower. But for more power, it was downgraded to 195 horsepower and later replaced by Perkins's diesel engine, which is much more economical. And now coming in at number 2, we have the M22 Locust. This is the opposite of a successful war machine. It was designed at the request of the British War Office for the United States government. The Mark 7 Tetrarch light tank was developed for this type of mission, but after prototypes were built in large numbers in 1943 and 1944, and production ended in 1945, a new light tank was developed in the United States by Marmon Harrington at the request of the British War Office to replace the Tetrarch light tank with a specially designed and constructed airborne tank. The original model was called the T9. Transport could be by either a C-54 aircraft, which did require the removal of the turret, or a Hamilcar glider, which allowed the Locust to deploy through a large opening nose door. This tank was further developed and was called the M22 Locust, and from 1943 to 1945 it produced about 830 vehicles. However, only 230 vehicles were shipped to Britain, arriving in late 1943 and serving with the 6th Airborne Armoured Reconnaissance Regiment. And finally, at number 1, we have the Themis UGV. Mirlam Robotics in Estonia developed and manufactured the UGV, or Unmanned Ground Vehicle. Its modular design allows it to be ordered in different types for different purposes and can serve as cargo for combat, ISR, surveillance, reconnaissance, and EOD. It's currently in service with 11 armies, 7 of which are NATO member states. It has many advantages, such as hybrid motors. This allows you to drive from 0 to a very low noise signature with a low center of gravity on 60% uphill climbs and 30% max bank. Equipped with the state-of-the-art sensors and a range of vision cameras, it works day and night in all weather. The main purpose is to assist the infantry by providing supplies of ammunition or taking wounded soldiers who do not have ammunition to better medical facilities. So that concludes our video for today, and we hope you guys get some information about these mini military tanks that are scattered around the world. We're also excited to see your reviews of these tanks, so please let us know in the comment section below just what you thought about them. Until next time.